Okay, welcome to 100 shit videos talking about spiritual awakening. So let me tell you about what the purpose of this is, and my secret hope is that no one will ever see this video. Because in 2019, I had a spiritual awakening. It had been kind of building for some time, and it was just unbelievable in its impact on my inner and outer experience. Life was never the same again afterwards. And for quite a few years, it created a lot of waves in my life, a lot of instability actually. 24 hours of the most intense clarity, bliss, freedom, joy, otherworldly understanding of how existence really is, then kind of crashed into my life as I had known it up until then. And my life had to change because of what I'd seen and experienced. And it kind of felt like a fire burning through my life, a fire that was going to burn away everything that was not in alignment with reality. And so for a long time, it was incredibly messy. And then it all became kind of a lot clearer. And it was obvious that my life was starting to better reflect the truth of what I saw that day. And I was becoming ready to talk about it and to guide people in it. And yeah, every time I would get the camera out to begin to try to share what I learned, not just from the awakening experience, but how the awakening then asserted itself on my life, I would run into a lot of the conditioning that the awakening had been burning through over the preceding years that would all flare up basically as soon as I would get this camera on. And it's been incredibly frustrating that for basically the last 2.5 years, it's felt like this awakening has stabilized sufficiently to be able to talk about it, to be able to guide people, to offer insights. And as a therapist, I think I've got this unique perspective that I can offer because I spend all day, every day. I'm here right now in my therapy practice. I'm a bit wobbly there on the camera. Um, but yeah, I spend all day, every day helping people to create more integrated, whole psyches. And all of what I've learned in more than a decade of being a therapist, I can see played massively into the experience of, or made the awakening possible. And so I think I've got this unique perspective to offer of having both a foot or one foot in the world of psychology and therapy, but another foot in the world of spiritual awakening. And that seems to be somewhat rare. A lot of people talking about their experiences of awakening, but with no psychological training or experience behind them. And I think that's a real opportunity to guide a lot of people who might not otherwise find their way into this awakening. And so I've wanted to create something around that for the last 2 years. And yeah, every single time I get the camera out, I find myself caught in the very ego structure that in many other aspects of my life has actually fallen away. So whereas I spend a lot of my life as a therapist, as a parent, as a husband, as just a person on the street, walking around in this state of great freedom and clarity and wholeness, aware that there's no agent or real self here doing it all, but nevertheless things are happening, a life is happening, a person's happening. Whereas there's that clarity in almost every other aspect of life. Every time I would get this camera out, something about it would solidify me into the identity that fell away all those years ago. And it was incredibly frustrating because I didn't want to be a fake. I didn't want to be sitting here speaking about a way of being that is true to my everyday experience, but wasn't true as I was speaking on the camera to you. I never want to be that fraudulent person, mainly because I spent most of my life caught in that fraudulence in lots of different ways. But at a certain point, the only way to free ourselves, I've found this again and again and again, is to basically walk right through the dark side of the psyche, to actually willingly walk into our triggers and to find God, love, wholeness actually is right in the midst of the pain, the difficulty, the confusion, which is a funny thing to say because you can have an awakening where you know so deeply into the marrow of your bones that you're not separate, that there is nothing separate, that there's only one thing. And then the conditioning can all be triggered in a way to really convince you temporarily of your separateness. So here I am trying to start this project, video number 1 here, where I'm going to move through this wound, the original wound of separation, of believing that we're separate when we're actually not. Having moved through this wound so many times in so many different contexts, I'm now going to move through this wound in real time as it presents when I get this camera out with you. And there is a part of me that wants no one to see this. Because that's what creates the sense of safety for the very ego structure that is still in the process of falling away in this particular aspect of my life, to actually be visible in it, is the idea that no one will see this. So fingers crossed, YouTube algorithm is going to view this video as pitiful, as completely uncompelling, and show it to an audience of 0 people. I'm sure I can rely upon that. So that's it. That's really what this project is all about. And I'm just really looking forward to experiencing the freedom I feel in every other aspect of my life here with this camera, so that I can actually talk about the extraordinary and quite ordinary experiences of the last 6 years since awakening. So if there is anyone here, hello. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you in the next video. The goal is 1 per day. 1 shit video about spiritual awakening per day for the next 100 days. Bye for now.